frontin'. I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out.
Hello, Miami. Thank you so much for watching 305 Sports Now. We're once again on with 305 Live. And joining me tonight is another great friend of the show from a great network, which is a great friend of this show, of the FTSN Network. This is who I like to call the Dolphins version of the Truth Teller. He is the host of Real Talk with Steve Molloy. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Molloy. How you doing, sir? How you doing?
I'm doing great. Will, I appreciate you having me on.
No, I appreciate you coming on, man. You know, I love having you on. I love your takes. I love your expertise on the Fins, and I love your blatant honesty as well. So that's always very refreshing coming from somebody that's well versed on the team and also a major fan of the ball club as well.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, man, I got you. So before we get into some draft talk, we're going to do the later rounds tonight, and we'll shoot out some names. We'll have a conversation about if anything needs within that we want to look for in the later rounds as well. But Tyreek Hill, it was a topic of conversation this morning on the Joe Rowe Show, and he can't seem to stay out of the news, and he can't seem to stay out of social media tweets and stuff like that as far as like people reposting what he's been going through. If you guys don't know what's going on out there, Tyreek Hill had a domestic dispute once again with his wife, but this time it was the mother-in-law, the one that made the 911 call. A lot of shouting, arguments, and a laptop was apparently thrown at a wall. And there was and also one of the biggest controversies, we don't know, was that Tyreek Hill walked with their, I believe, a 4 or 5 month old right by the balcony outside of their apartment building here in Miami. So a lot is being said. There's a lot of controversy about whether they should keep him, whether they should trade him. Before I give you my perspective, sir, what do you think about this whole situation? What do you think the Dolphins need to do next with Tyreek?
Trade him. Try to get some assets for him. I know you're not going to get a lot for him. There's a lot, you might get a third, maybe a fifth, possibly, or you might get another, maybe a fifth and another good player or something of that nature. But they need to let this guy go. There's a pattern with this guy, and it started in college. He got kicked out of college, ended up playing for another smaller college. He punched his girlfriend in the stomach, pregnant girlfriend in the stomach. He wasn't, all he did was have to go to some therapy or anger management classes for that. And then the next thing that happened is he had another incident in college where he supposedly had broken one of his son's arms, small child. And then again, he got away with it, didn't get charged. Then of course we know what happened when he came here to Miami. He had the incident with the guy at the arena, slapped that gentleman. He's had other instances where he almost got into a fight and went out with some guys or something. Now he got out of that one. He left supposedly he left that place where he was at. And then, of course, we know about the influencer woman who had visited him at his home, and he got a little upset because I guess she tackled him a little hard or something, and he actually knocked her to the ground and broke her leg. Then I also heard, I was reading a piece where he basically admitted to having sex with her in his own house. At that same time, that same day. I don't know. Of course, I'm sure it was before the incident occurred, but hey, you never know with this guy. And then also, then we have the latest one that you brought up with the domestic with his wife, mother-in-law calling. Also, you didn't mention it, but his wife had bruises on her chest. She didn't press charges, but she did have bruises on the chest. Now, from a source that I know that has worked as a police officer down in that South Florida area, in the area that he was at, he talked to some of his uh, former officers that he worked with. He's retired now, and they said there was no charge. He wasn't charged with anything. So basically, he got away with it again. But what I'm trying to say here is there's a pattern here. There's a pattern with this guy. Okay, he's getting away, and he doesn't learn. He just continues on. In my opinion, and I've said this a couple of years ago with the first incident at the marina, I said he's a thug. He's just a thug, and he's a cancer to this Miami Dolphins football team. He's always making comments on Twitter. He calls it trolling. And the guy's just the troublemaker. We need to either release him or trade him and get some assets for him, because we desperately need some assets. That's my opinion about Tyreek Hill. He doesn't need to be in the NFL, period.
Yeah, it's a major problem, and Kansas City proved that you don't need him to win a Super Bowl. They've won 2 Super Bowls and been to 3 without him, just because they've drafted well, and when they've used free agency, they've used it in the positions of need, and they've been able to get the best out of their free agents. So my perspective,
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's still like a top 5 receiver in the league. You can't deny the talent. The speed is still there. His ability to get away from guys is still there. But the biggest problem is that he just can't stay out of the news, and it's a major issue. And the off the field stuff, we forgot to mention also the fact that he was arrested, right before the game started, hit the first
Exactly.
game of the year, and he
Exactly.
told a completely different story than what the body cam footage indicated.
Yeah.
And I know
Yeah.
I know it's controversial because you could argue, the cops were a little rough, but Tyreek was
Yeah.
not easy either. Okay, let's be honest. He wasn't very easy
Mhm.
either in terms of how he dealt with
Mhm.
police that day as well. So again, he's always
Mhm.
ends up on the news, and that's a headache. And then of course you get the infamous "I'm good, bro." At the end of the game of the season, where he
Right.
basically quit on
Right.
his football team. There's rumors that if he does stay on the team, they're gonna put a C on his chest as a captain. You can't make that guy a captain. You can't make that guy a captain.
Mhm.
So what I suggest, what I think, you still have Jalen Waddle. Although Jalen Waddle might not be a true number one, he's still a serviceable receiver. You can build
Mhm.
off of him. You got some guys, Malik Washington, as well. Get somebody, gets cut. I don't know what you're gonna do. I don't suggest going for wide receiver in the draft this year. I think there's so many needs, so many pertinent needs on the team. But I just think that you can still get value. Somebody is going to make a play for Tyreek Hill because they need that one piece that they feel will get them into the Super Bowl, whether it's the Baltimore Ravens or another football team that could get them over the hump and get them in the Super Bowl. So you can still get some value for him. So I
Mhm.
suggest, just move on from him. And if I'm Chris Greer or any future GM of the Miami Dolphins, I stop trading guys stop trading for guys or signing guys that you're eventually gonna get tired of and want to get rid of. The same thing with Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey didn't even ask for a trade. They said we're trading you. And you know why? Because he's got a personality. But you knew that before you traded for him, and
Right.
now here you go. So you have the same problem with Tyreek. So I'm with you. Great talent, did a lot, as far as work on the field. But he's too much of a distraction, and he's not a locker room leader. I mean, he really is,
Mhm.
and shows up late all the time from what I've heard. When he practices. He goes 100 miles an hour. I'm not gonna take that away from him, but he always late, and then he quit. I mean, you don't want a guy that quits on you, at the end of a game. And
Yeah.
on top of that, the off the field issues that they're just not gonna stop, especially if he continues to find a way as wiggles way around it. It's just not gonna stop. So I think the Dolphins need to part ways with him, need to move on. Especially while they still can.
Yeah, I agree. While they still can get some value,
Yeah.
some assets back for him. In all fairness to Tyreek Hill, right? Um, I know you said he quit on the team. That doesn't bother me so much, um, as much as the off the field antics and things like that, because he does bring that element, of being a dynamic receiver on the field.
Yeah, I was just adding on
Excellent,
to with that.
excellent.
I added
I
on with
got you.
the
I
off
got you.
with what he did. Yeah. No, the off the field
Yeah,
stuff
I
is
got
worse.
you. Yeah, off the field stuff is worse. Now, we could argue, right? We could argue and debate and say, well, we weren't going to the playoffs anyway. The game was already, over with, and we already knew we weren't going to go to the playoffs. And the fact that he played all year with a wrist that he just had surgery for in the off season. So maybe he made a business decision. He said, "Hey, look, I've been playing all year. We're not going anywhere, and I'm just not going to go back in there and risk hurting my wrist for a game that really isn't going to be meaningful." But then again, we can also say, well, he quit on the team, as you said. He quit on the team. If it was me and I was playing for the Miami Dolphins and I was a wide receiver, even if I did have a Hurst wrist, look, I'm going to go down with the ship. That's just me. So he made a business decision, and there's that. Also, we haven't won a Super Bowl with him. We haven't even won a playoff game with him. And number three, in clutch moments, he either fumbled or he misses a touchdown, pass or something. And I was at the Houston game, and we can argue about that too. We can debate whether or not the ball was taken from him or it was a bad pass from Tua. I'm saying it's a combination of both. It was a terrible throw by Tua, underthrown, number one. He didn't lead Tyreek, but Tyreek did come back and turn around and had the ball in his hands. Maybe it was ripped out of his hands. I don't know. But he doesn't come through in the clutch moments.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the ball was ripped out of his hands personally in that game that you speak of.
Mm-hmm.
That's my take, and
right.
I had a back and forth with a listener about that, in the comment section, that he thought that Tyreek was, he was out of position to even have a chance at the ball. Whatever, it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I'm in total agreement with you. I mean, we haven't won anything with him. I do think that, again, if you do get asked this big, you could go for a wide receiver. If you get extra draft picks for this season or the following, you could go.
Yeah.
You could take a chance on a wide receiver, right, as well. But it's just not worth it. As long as you have a very solid offensive line and a very solid defensive line and a heady quarterback, you can make guys into playmakers. And I do think that, I'm not saying you can win a Super Bowl without having, good players, but you can make your guys look a lot better when you have a lot more time to throw than what Tua had this year. So I do think there's adjustments the Dolphins can make that could allow, Tua to still be efficient even without that kind of deep threat as well. Okay, this is my buddy. All right, big shout out to Mr. Teacher's Craft. What's up, Bomba? How you doing? Let's see what he has to say. Tyreek's antics magnify big because the team is a total mess. If the team was a playoff caliber team, they put up with him. Okay, right. Steve, you wanna comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, you could probably mask his antics, off the field if we were winning playoffs. Maybe the organization or maybe even some of the fans, I believe, would probably overlook that. Personally, I wouldn't, but I know there's some fans that probably could overlook that, and maybe the organization as well, which, I mean, up to this point, they have. At least it appears that they've kind of just shoved it underneath the rug. So, but that's a great point.
But Bomba, I got something to tell you. We're not a playoff team. And we win a playoff game. So yeah, it magnifies it now. Adios. That's pretty much where we're at right now.
I agree, brother.
Yeah, man. It's like you put up with, look, it's like the NBA. You put up with some of the bad behaviors of NBA stars, because if you're going to win championships, you put up with some of it. But the moment that they start aging a bit and you go from like second place, first place to like seventh or eighth, or fall out of playoff or head into play-in, they start looking at you differently. The organization does. Okay. Yeah, he agrees with me. I'll see you in the elevator tomorrow, by the way. He's a good guy, man. Big shout out to Teacher's Craft. He's starting like a consulting firm for teachers, so very proud of him. And he wants to do a pod on that as well. Yeah, man. Yeah, he's good people, and he's very smart, and he's very innovative in his field. So I'm very happy for him. All right, so aside from Tyreek, let's move on a little bit from Tyreek. Let's talk a little bit of the draft. Okay, so in the first round, we kind of, if you want, we'll touch a little bit about it. There are some guys that I like, that the Dolphins are expected to take a look at if they're available. One of those guys, my guy, okay, that I've done a lot more homework on him. If the Dolphins are not going to pick a tackle, my guy would be Jedi Barron. You familiar with Jedi Barron, Steve?
Yes, I've heard of the name, and I've heard other people speak of him. Yeah, he sounds like he's the type of guy that would fit right into our system. And if I'm not mistaken, he can play both inside and outside, right? Corner?
Yeah. He is, if you're going to get rid of, I got you, buddy. Anytime. If you want to get rid of Jalen Ramsey, what was good about Jalen Ramsey is you can move him and put him on anybody's receiver, and you could be okay. And that's something that Ramsey always liked doing. He liked being placed on everybody's best guy, whether it was a boundary receiver or whether it was
Mhm.
the best slot guy on a team or even the best tight end. It didn't matter. You could do that with Barron. Barron has played about 300 snaps in 4 different positions of the cornerback. He's played both sides of the boundary and both sides of the slot as well. You could even use him in a quasi safety position where you need somebody to make tackles, on short yard situations. And that's what I like about him. I like Will Johnson as well, aesthetically speaking, because he's taller. He's got more
Mhm.
interceptions. He's much more of a shutdown corner than Barron is. But the problem with Will Johnson is that he has an injury history, and one of those injuries is turf toe. And we all know that turf
Right.
toe doesn't go away easily. As a matter of fact,
No.
it lingers. And in the NFL, when you're facing
Mhm.
the fastest receivers in the league and the best route runners, that toe is going to get tested quite a bit. And the difference between
Mhm.
jamming a guy to getting burned for a 50-yard bomb and a touchdown. So I do think I'd rather not do the Chris Greer thing and draft the most injured player you can find on the board and get a guy who's relatively healthy and has played multiple positions at corner
Right.
and is a sure tackler. The SEC, he's from Texas. The SEC is the most competitive conference
Mhm.
in college football, and he's played at a high level in college football as well in the playoffs. So that would be my guy if you're not going to go with an offensive lineman or offensive tackle in the
Mhm.
draft.
Yeah,
He's-
I liked what the folks that I heard talk about him, and then I'm here in Houston, Texas too. So I have heard some other people talk about him as well here in Texas. But some of the other folks that I have heard talk about him, he seems like that would be my type of pick because of that reason. He can play either inside, outside, and also, if I'm not mistaken, he's a very good tackler.
Mhm.
Very good
Yeah,
tackler, so I like
very
that,
solid.
and he does yes, and he doesn't have an injury history as well, so and I like Will Johnson, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I like him too, but then that scares me with the turf toe and I also believe he had some hamstring issues as well.
Yeah.
So that kinda scares me on his part, and I like the well-rounded, Barron type of cornerback if it was up to me. And the reason I say well-rounded and I say he's a good fit with the Miami Dolphins is because Miami Dolphins defense plays a lot of zone. They play a lot of zone defense. So, it seems to me that he could play the boundary and he can also play the slot as well.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we have a special guest. She decided to pop on.
All
Okay.
right.
So she decided to pop on, and I am greatly surprised to have her. But you guys know her as the host of Doll's Diaries. I know her as Courtney. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Courtney, aka Doll.
Courtney.
How you doing? How are you?
Hi.
What
I'm
are what?
literally just popping on before bed.
Yeah, I'm like, what are you? Witness protection? It's like I feel like I'm talking to those one of those when they interview get mobsters and they put the black screen because they don't want to reveal who
Yeah.
they are, so it's
Yeah.
like
I I started a new job and it added an hour commute each way.
oh
And
wow.
so I've just been coming home and I make dinner and I go to bed.
Wow.
I've been
Wow.
so I've just been getting used to the routine and I kind of disappeared for a bit. But I'm trying to come
Uh,
back now. I'm trying to come back.
yeah.
Great.
Hey,
We want you back. Hey, are you still going to the gym?
I still go to the gym every day. I'm
Great.
tracking the heat being absolutely embarrassing tonight.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, no, we're still doing the gym. I have a bunch of kid stuff. It's just been a busy, busy spring, and social media kind of fell off the wayside for me.
okay. Well, that's good.
Gotcha.
You're always welcome. You're always welcome on the show whenever you want to come on. Here on 305. I'm sorry, Sports Now. So, but thank you for popping on. All right, thank you for popping on, and thank you for coming out of witness protection. It's greatly, it's greatly
My
appreciated.
parole
I'm
officer, allowed it.
You
So
allowed it. Okay, well, that's good.
okay. That's real good. So I'm gonna have you on Real Talk Finns Talk as well. Probably sometime after the draft.
okay, give me notice and
Uh,
I will make a plan. I am
Well,
trying.
Courtney,
I'm
I have a
abs-
question for you. I have a question for you since
Absolutely.
you did start a new job and so on, and you're busy with your kids. Would summer would be better for you? More so than during the school year, or is it still gonna be the same thing because it's just your commute?
It'll be the same thing. It's the commute and then learning. I'm kind of in a different classification of law, so kind of learning some new things.
Okay.
But I'm gonna be in a hybrid role, so I've had to commute every day during training for the past 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But then I'll be able to work from home 2 days a week, which will
Oh, nice.
lighten my commute load, which is coming up in the next like couple weeks.
Okay.
So really, it's just the commute, getting up earlier, adjusting to a whole new like routine. And then the weekends have just been jam packed with kid stuff. So summer won't change it too much because then my kids are going to be bored and want to be entertained.
Of course.
All right, Courtney. Before you go to bed, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
If you follow any part of the draft, at least the first round, who do you think the Dolphins should get at 13?
I've followed zero, but
Okay.
I will burn the stadium down if it's not an offensive lineman.
Okay.
Mm.
You just start your torch
I know people
start your
want
torch.
corner.
I think they're going corner.
I don't want to go corner. Listen, we went defense with Chop last year,
Okay.
and that was tenuous. And we still have done dog shit to fix our offensive line.
Don't curse on my show, young lady.
Okay. Dog poop to fix our offensive line. The offensive line remains a problem. Tua being injury prone remains a problem. And, we're letting people go, losing people. We have more holes than cottage cheese, Swiss cheese, whatever. We
Mhm.
need to fix the O-line. We need to shore it up. It's time to start investing in it. And so
But Courtney, we did invest in it. We brought back Liam Eichenberg.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Wow, lucky us. It's just buckle up for the year is all I can say. But I
Okay,
really
so-
I haven't had time to dig into the draft. But I same as last year, I remain that I want an offensive lineman.
Okay, so I have another question for you because I'm kind of like am leaning the corner route because you just have so many holes and it isn't before you light your torch to set me on fire. Okay, it is a very heavy offensive line draft this year, so you could probably still get a decent pick in the second. Or Jalen Rivers could play 4 positions that he's slated to go in the 5th round. That's how loaded the offensive line position is this year. So if the best offensive linemen on paper are taken, like a Will Campbell, a Kelvin Banks, if they go before 13, would you still be open to a corner or a D tackle, which is another position of need, by the way, because Zach Sealer needs a buddy?
No, I want offensive linemen. We went defense last year. First of all, I've told you since we got rid of Xavier Howard that we've had a problem at corner, and nobody has stepped up to fill Xavier Howard's spot since then. I thought it was going to be Cam Smith. It's not. We lost Nick Needham. That's been a problem for 2 years. Okay. But last year we had a pretty good defense and we still couldn't win games because our offense couldn't move the football. So I think even losing a few guys, I have more faith in our defense. I like Weaver. I think he runs a good ship. I think that he could handle it, especially, use 2 through whatever for him. The offense is the biggest problem on this team.
Okay. All right. Hey, I agree with you. If we go tackle, I won't be upset. Or actually guard more than anything, I won't be upset. But I won't be upset if we got that I just mentioned, Jedi Barron. I mean, the guy plays 4 different positions at corner, and he's got 300 snaps, at 4 different positions. So I wouldn't be that upset, especially since Chris Greer did create a hole for himself when he decided I'm going to trade Jalen Ramsey. And you're right, Cam Smith hasn't panned out, so that's another oopsie we got to fix. So that's just what I'm saying. So but we'll see. So Steve, you heard it here. We heard it here. Okay, if the Dolphins go corner, D tackle, or wide receiver in the first round of the draft, Courtney will be on X with a torch ready to burn Hard Rock Stadium down. That's a joke, by the way.
Yeah, we know it's a joke.
I'll be on with Bobby.
Yeah, that's a joke.
I will be.
No, I don't want to get banned on YouTube like you got in trouble on X. So let's make sure that we say it's a joke. We're kidding.
I didn't get in trouble for cursing. I got in trouble for threatening behavior.
I know.
And it was a theoretical one, but no, I will be on with Bobby on Finns Talk Sports Network for my after the Dolphins pick reaction.
Okay.
I won't be on the whole day Thursday, but I will be on after the Dolphins pick. So you might see some rioting, or I'll be happy. We'll see. To be determined.
Yeah. Listen, you might be a Dolphins fan, but you're still in Philly, so I do think that that side of you is gonna come out
Yeah.
if you're not happy. Just saying.
You got to fit in here.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, you definitely do. All right, but Courtney, thank you so much for
All
coming
right.
on. Oh,
No
go ahead, go ahead,
problem.
go ahead. No,
No, I
you
was
gonna say
just gonna say
something?
thanks for having me.
No, of
Nope.
course,
Thanks for
anytime. You're
having
always
me.
welcome on the show. You're always welcome on the show. And you always know that. But thanks for coming on. I know you have a long commute tomorrow, so get some rest, okay?
All right. Good night. Bye, guys.
Good night.
All right, take care,
Bye.
Courtney.
Bye bye. All right. That was a fun guest appearance, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yes. Yeah,
I still think we're going
like
corner.
Courtney. Yeah, you know, to be honest with you, Will, I think corner is the most critical need at this point. But to be honest, I don't think it really matters where we go. We could go guard, we could go defensive tackle, um, you know, safety. Well, safety not so much. I think you can find safety in the later rounds.
That's
But
another loaded position, by the way, in this draft is safety.
that's what I'm saying. You
Yeah.
can find a safety in the later rounds, and we need safeties as well. I mean, I don't care what Chris Greer said. You want my opinion about Chris Greer? He's a liar. He's a freaking liar, and he doesn't hold himself accountable. He's always throwing people under the bus. That's my opinion about Chris Greer. And if he really believes that we have two starting safeties in the house already, I've got a bridge to sell you in the Sahara Desert. But
or a beach resort.
Either way, yeah, beach resort, whatever. But the bottom line is, if we go, I'd like to see cornerback because it is a critical need because of the Ramsey thing that's come up with the trade and all that. But if we go with guard, if we go with defensive tackle, I'd be happy.
Yeah. Yeah, like Bobby said something on Monday, and he said it also on the shows he's been on. I do agree with him. I think at the 13th pick, I think BPA would be your best bet. I think best player available, and that's why I was trying to ask Courtney. I go, if the best offensive lineman that is a sure thing is no longer available, do you go, with a corner? Would you be satisfied? And she's like, and of course she's like, no, I want to go lineman. And I get it, as well. That is, I've said it. I don't mind drafting a guard, especially in this draft, because that's where we got blasted from in every game. It wasn't the outside where we got killed. It was actually in the inside where we got killed. So I think a guard would be best. But, I do think that since we did create holes for ourselves and Cam Smith hasn't panned out with two different coordinators, he can't seem to get on the field. I do think that you're going to have a cornerback to help out with Kendall Fuller as well. To see what happens. And again, Jedi, like I mentioned, Barron, you can move him around. He doesn't have to stay in the boundary. You can move him in the inside if you're happy to deal with this, like a Tank Bell, like a Tank Dell type. There's a very good slot receiver. You can put Barron on him, and he'll cover him very, very easily. So, Steve, you okay? Yeah. So Steve is frozen. Okay. So like I was saying, I just think like a Jedi Baron and so on is a guy that you could use in multiple positions, within the secondary, and he can make plays for you. Cover your best guy, cover your best slot receiver, you can cover your best outside receiver as well. So that's what I'm thinking. Hey, Steve, you're back. You froze for time for 5 seconds.
Okay, thanks. I thought it was you, but it was me apparently.
Oh, so we both froze. Okay, so it's gonna look nice when I watch the video live. Record.
But no, I agree. That's why I say the critical need is at cornerback right now because of the Ramsey trade, and then you've got we lost Kendall Fuller as well. Are we really going to put our faith in Cam Smith? Are we going to put our faith in Ethan Bonner or Storm Duck? So we got to get a corner is going to be a starter. And I don't mean a cornerback that's going to be a starter and just be a contributor. He needs to make an immediate impact.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you.
And I think Barron might be the guy.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And let's go. Let's go further into the rounds. And I looked at a couple mock drafts Okay, I didn't set one up for myself, but I looked at a couple mock drafts, and the Palm Beach Post and Finsider had some interesting takes. I think it was Finsider that said the Dolphins would actually trade down, and they would trade with Detroit, and I believe that they believe that Malachi Starks would be the safety from Georgia. It was a pretty good safety. Would be the
Mhm.
actual pick for the Miami Dolphins, not Walter Nolan or not Jedi Barron. That I believe Detroit wants Shamar Stewart, so they're willing to go up and
Right,
reach for Shamar Stewart,
right.
who was a fairly solid football player in college. I actually followed his
Mhm,
career because the Hurricanes are very close to actually landing him on campus here as a player. But Malachi Starks would be good. He's a safety. He'd be a good plug-in guy for Javon Holland, who went off over to the Giants.
mhm.
You guys talking about the Giants, right? If I'm not mistaken. The Giants.
Yes, the
Uh,
Giants, correct.
yeah,
Mhm,
you got signed over to the Giants.
yep.
I think that would be a good pick. But I want to go into round two prospects. Okay, this again
Mhm.
from both Insider, Finn's Insider. Finn's Insider has Mason Taylor, Mason Taylor as the actual second pick for the Miami Dolphins as well, and the Palm Beach Post has Kenneth Grant, the defensive tackle out of Michigan, as well. I like the idea of Kenneth Grant. Michigan has a very solid defense, national championship winning football player, a guy who can show up the interior. I actually like that selection in the second round. I'd rather in the second round, if you're going to go tight end, Mason's not a bad guy. I do like, of course, Elijah Arroyo. My only concern about Arroyo is his injury history, but Arroyo is a guy that you could also line up as a flex wide receiver as well if you need him to be, aside from an inline
Mm,
tight end as well. So either
mhm.
way, I'm fine with either pick. What do you think about that? Steve, do you like the idea of a defensive tackle in the second round and possibly the tight end?
The tight end is out. We got a bunch of tight ends on the team right already.
Okay.
You know, you got John O. Smith, you got the Brown guy we picked up, very good blocker. And then you got John O, who can pass catch, and then we've got Tanner Connor, who can be that split guy as a wide receiver. He's very fast, tight end. And then we got Julian Hill, of course, and we've got one more, don't we? If I remember correct. Yes, Reese.
Okay.
We've got Reese as a tight end as well. So I think we're okay with tight end, to be honest. We can get away without a tight end, I believe.
Okay.
Um, but I like the idea of Kenneth Grant, and I like him as a defensive tackle. I've heard a lot about him. I did do a little reading and research on him. Um, and like you said, he's a Michigan guy.
Mhm.
Stephen Ross is a Michigan guy.
Yeah, it's true.
So, and so maybe they're looking at him in the second round. I could see, as I said, and not necessarily in any order. We have needs to fill, right? So if we get him in the second round, that's a need that we desperately need a defensive tackle to go alongside Zach Sealer. Calais Campbell is a big loss, and we're going to feel it this year.
Yeah.
The only thing is this guy's got to come in and make a big impact. Now, Christian Wilkins had a lot of good production when he came
Yeah.
to the Miami Dolphins when he was drafted. Took him 2 to 3 years. So, is he going to be the guy to come in and make an immediate impact? Is he going to be anywhere near Calais Campbell?
Yeah. I think so. And the reason why I like what Weaver did last year on defense. The
Mhm.
Dolphins were pretty solid with what he had to work with. I mean, let's be honest with you, he didn't have the best pieces on his football team. And he did and everyone thought that Zach Sealer would have a major drop off. Since Christian Wilkins, went to the Raiders, and Zach Sealer had a really solid season as well. I think he had like what 9, 10 sacks. If I'm not mistaken
Yeah,
from
I
the
think he had
position.
like 10 sacks. But then you also have to figure he had Calais Campbell next to him. Now, even though Calais Campbell only played what 50% of the snaps, 50 maybe percent of the snaps, he still was very productive and very good in the run game, put a lot of pressure on the passer. So that helped Zach Sealer out a lot.
Yeah.
So if Grant can come in here and have as good as production as Calais Campbell, then I think we'll see the same production from Zach Sealer as well.
Okay. All right, good take, sir. Round three. Okay, both. This is again a combination of the Palm Beach Post and Finn's Insider. I actually like 2 out of these 3. I would have liked all 3, except one has an injury history. Dorian Strong out of Virginia Tech, cornerback. Okay. Defensive tackle out of Florida State, Joshua Farmer. I think he could be useful. And cornerback out of Ohio State, Denzel Burke. I'm gonna scratch Denzel Burke off because again, great size, ability, tackling ability. Biggest problem, injury prone. He's had injury struggles at Ohio State. That's for me is is a deal breaker. Joshua Farmer though had a couple good seasons at Florida State, so I do think that if you don't go with Kenneth Grant in the second round, and maybe you go for a safety or you go whatever position of need you want to get, maybe maybe you get a Baron in the first round, and then later on you might get a defensive tackle in the second round or a guard in the second round. I think that Joshua Farmer would make a good plug and play guy as well. Dorian Strong, I'm intrigued. Only reason why, because Virginia Tech had a very underrated pass defense last year. Virginia Tech always produces good defensive backs, and they were actually pretty good last season. Miami torched them. The Kings did torch them, but they did get a couple picks off of Cam Ward. So I do think that Dorian will be a pretty good, a nice depth piece at the cornerback position for the Dolphins if they decide to go that route. What do you think, sir?
Dorian play safety?
No, he played corner.
Oh, he played corner. Okay.
He played corner.
Well, I'll be quite frank with you. I know a lot of people are not going to like this, but why not double down on corner? You lost Kendall Fuller, and you're going to lose Ramsey, right? Double down on corner.
Yeah, and Cam Smith can't see the field.
Smith can't see the field at all, and he's always injured.
So yeah, I do like Dorian. I think that would be not a bad pick at all. All right, heading into round 4. Now it gets fun, okay? Because I got a few guys here. Okay, I have Deion Walker, defensive tackle out of Kentucky. He's used to running a 3-4 set. Chase Lunt, okay, who is the tackle out of UConn. Believe it or not, this is his actual name, guys. Kobe Bryant, okay, another cornerback out of Kansas. And believe it or not, Jalen Rivers, the guard tackle from the University of Miami. Okay. Okay, let's start first with Deion Walker. It's a 3-4 set. Hey, look who it is. It's Rob. Thirsty.
Hey.
Rob, how you doing, man? Another one's come out of hiding.
Yes, sir. How you doing, Rob?
How's it going, man?
Brother?
How's podcast retirement treating you? I just sent him the link. Out. Come on. and do like Courtney, just surprise everybody.
There you go.
Yeah, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, I like his enthusiasm. Yeah. So, what do you think about the tackle possibly from Kentucky?
Who was the tackle from the University of Miami? I know we're skipping here, but
Simeon Barrow.
Simeon Barrow. Tell me a little bit about him. He's versatile. He can play guard and tackle.
Yeah. You can put him. Well, you mean the guard? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You meant offensive line. Dude, sorry.
Yeah,
I thought you meant defensive tackle. Yeah, they'll talk about tackle.
No.
Yeah, Jalen Rivers actually got a lot of praise. Yeah, he got a lot of praise in the combine or in his pro day because they tried him out as center and he was pretty successful. He started off in the offensive line as a tackle and then got hurt. They moved him inside because the guy that came after him, Markel Bell, who's 6'9", for the University of Miami.
Guard?
No, as a tackle.
Oh,
he's like 6'8", 6'9". He's tall. He came out of JUCO, was playing really well, and they didn't want to mess with the chemistry of the offensive line, so they moved him to the interior, and he played very well as a left guard. So the thing with Jalen is that if you need somebody to be a guard, to be a tackle, even to be center, he's a guy that. The thing with Miami, they cross-train their offensive linemen because they try to get them ready for the next level. You'll play tackle the whole season, but they will in practice move you around a little bit. So that way, if you get drafted, you at least have some familiarity with the position. Actually, it's funny though because Lou yesterday was joking around saying that Jalen Rivers could probably steal Liam Eichenberg's job if he's drafted by Miami. So
yeah, I like that. I like the sound of that. I like his versatility.
Yeah,
and that's what I was going to make mention too. If we were to draft a guard, right? I think we need to also draft like a tackle, guard, center type guy. Somebody that can be a swing guy that we can develop. You'd be a young guy, cheap, right? And you can develop them to be a swing tackle. You can play guard, play center, whatever. So that's a valuable piece a valuable player to have on the team. I like the sound of Rivers.
Yeah, and so do I. I mean, and so do I. And Miami guys do pan out,
Mhm.
in the NFL.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't be a bad pick. I'd love for him to stay home. That'd be one. But that's all I'm saying. It's like even if you don't go guard in the first round or
Right.
tackle,
Right.
it's a very fruitful draft this year for offensive linemen. So I do think that you can
Mhm.
land a guy like Jalen Rivers, who would have been probably a third rounder a couple years ago.
Mhm.
And he's a fifth rounder this year because there's just so many people ahead of him
Right.
that played for more competitive programs this
Right.
season as well. Okay, I
Right.
have another guy here. Kobe Bryant, another cornerback. Would you rather draft a safety since we already talked about having a couple corners already?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I think that's too much of a reach for Miami. All right, now we're gonna go round five. Okay, we're going to round five, and RJ Harvey, who is the running back out of UCF. All right, a talented running back. There we go. Dolphin Thirsty throwing a little sarcasm. Listen, man, I feel bad because I don't like being mean, but I'm gonna repeat what I said yesterday when I had Ashley and Lou on the show. I think that we should find a way where Liam Eichenberg doesn't remember the address of the stadium and just forgets the directions. Like his GPS should be somewhat disabled on
Yeah.
Sundays.
Oh,
Yeah, Liam Eichenberg, man, and it's of all the Notre Dame offensive linemen that have been successful, we get the one that stinks.
yeah, for sure.
Man, man. I'm gonna get hate mail now from like the Eichenberg family.
So tell me about this running back. What is his measurements?
I don't have his numbers with me. I'll look him
Okay.
up for you. Right
Yeah.
now, I really don't have his numbers
'Cause
with me.
what I'm looking for, I don't think it would be a bad idea. Maybe 5th is a little too high, maybe 6. 5th or 6th would be okay. Maybe we get a running back, but I'm looking for if we get a running back, I still don't feel we have that power back on our
Yeah.
team.
Okay, he's 5'9", 208. He's
Nah,
not a
he's
big guy,
still not a big guy.
but he averaged 6.8 yards a carry this year for UCF,
Right,
and he had over
right.
1,500 yards rushing with 22 touchdowns. If you're
Great.
gonna get a running back, if he's available, I'd rather get Miami's Damian Martinez. I think
Yeah. What's Martinez size?
Martinez is like 6'2", 230.
That's what I'm
Um,
talking about.
yeah,
Now
he
you're
runs
talking.
he runs like a 4.5, runs like a 4.5. Pass protection, could receive the ball in the backfield. 4th and 1 is a guarantee, especially with Alec Engel blocking for him. Eichenberg could push back a little bit. Martinez will make the extra effort to get the first down. He rushed for 1,000 yards this year, but
Mhm.
sharing the ball with two other running backs, and he still managed to hit 1,000 yards as well. And
Yeah.
he got better as the season progressed. The infamous moment of when he was actually I would say the best moment that I will say for it's infamous if for Louisville because he destroyed the Louisville Cardinals was when he basically carried the entire defense into the end zone on a 35-yard touchdown run. So that's my dude. All right, I'm a big fan of Damian Martinez. I think Miami is the thing also with Damian is that he's not only a powerful running back, he can also run fast. So since Mike McDaniel likes things that go
Mhm.
fast,
Yeah.
okay, you won't get yourself a Ferrari, but you'll get a Cadillac.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll get
Yeah,
yourself a Cadillac.
exactly. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the Dolphins brought him in for a tryout.
Yeah, they did actually. Yep.
Yeah. So they brought him
Yeah.
in for a tryout. So they
Yeah, they
are
like what they
looking at
saw.
a power back.
Yeah. And then you lost Mosert.
Yeah.
Okay, you decided to let him go. Right, it looks like he has some power, but he hasn't shown it. Chan
No.
is just, he's a speed guy. Jeff Wilson isn't going to cut the mustard. He's already, I think 30 years old, if I'm not mistaken already.
Right.
Martinez is young. He's
There you go.
fast. He's proven, as well. I mean, you cannot ask for a better situation for the Dolphins to land a guy that not only fits the speed you like out of your offense, but also gives you that power element that you desperately need on short yardage situations. So I do think it's a no-brainer. If he's available in that round, you get David Martinez. He's projected to go like 4th or 5th.
Yeah.
Again, the running back position in this draft is also very heavy as well, with Genty possibly going in the first round as
Mhm.
well. So that
Chicago is looking at him, I think.
yeah,
Right?
Chicago's looking at him as well. Another guy that's expected to go early is Omari Hampton over in North Carolina, very talented as well. Rumor has it the Steelers are looking at Martinez. They may end up a Pittsburgh Steeler. We'll see.
Mm.
We'll see how that goes. He
Yeah, that would
fits in
be
with that.
typical.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
I was
fits
gonna
in with
say that
them.
would be
So
typical of the Steelers to get a guy like him
yeah,
for
he fits
sure.
in. He fits
Yeah,
in. So hopefully Miami
for
could
sure.
do the right thing and get a guy that's speed but mash at the same time. So yeah,
Yeah,
and let
exactly.
me tell you, he got 4th and 1s without having a fullback. Okay, because Miami rarely used an extra running back on short yard situations. They always gave it to the running backs, because the offensive line was so good, they got the right
Mhm.
push, and the running backs did the rest of the job. So I'm saying
Right.
Miami now with a fullback that could block. Telling you, no
You
more.
heard it. You heard it
That's
here, Miami Dolphins.
I'm just telling you, you don't have to throw on 4th and 1 with Damian Martinez. Okay, you don't have to throw. Okay, that's why Cam Moore pointed to the defensive line at USF that days. I'm giving it right here, and he
Yeah, I
still
heard
scored.
about that. Yeah, I heard
And he
about that.
pointed.
Yeah.
We're going right through this gap. I'm giving it to this guy. Try to stop it. Touchdown. It was done. So yeah, man. So Martinez, that's your dude. I'm surprised. I'm
Yep.
surprised I'm not hearing anybody say, "Hey, of course, Will Martinez." All right, and then round 7. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. We talked about this. Then you have Dylan Gabriel. Okay, and like I told you in the break, if Dylan Gabriel is your a possible backup quarterback, I suggest you wait till next season to pick a quarterback.
Yeah. No.
No.
I don't like his height. I think he's like 5'11", if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken, maybe smaller. And he's lefty too, right? Is he lefty as well?
Oh, I don't remember. I don't remember, to be frank
Yeah,
with you.
I thought he was, but I could be wrong. But no, I wouldn't want to do that. Now there's something else that I want to make mention too. I would
Okay.
not be opposed of drafting a quarterback in the 3rd or 4th round.
Oh,
The
me
reason
neither.
why the reason why is because, all right, the probability of Tua Tagovailoa going down this year is very high.
Mhm.
So then Zach Wilson comes in, who's going to back him up? Why not draft a quarterback, in a 3rd, 4th round, bring him in, develop him, and if Tua stays healthy, hopefully, great, But if he doesn't, and you got Zach Wilson come up, now you have a backup. It's been in the system a little while, and has learned the plays and has a little chemistry. So why not? As opposed to bringing somebody off the street
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
hasn't even
and
like last year, like
yeah.
Tyler Huntley or Tim Boyles.
Yeah.
So
I think Mike McDaniel did Tyler Huntley such a tragedy, a disservice, because I'll never forget the first game. I think it was against Tennessee when he started, right? His first game was it
yeah,
Tennessee? Yeah, he ran the same
yeah.
plays, the same playbook as he had if Tua was there. Tua had been in that system for 3 years, and you're asking a guy that you just signed basically off of someone else's practice squad that to
So
do
my
what Tua was
Rob, I'm
doing.
lefty too, man.
Yeah, you saw that,
Have you
huh?
forgotten?
So's
I'm
my mom,
sorry.
by the
Go ahead.
way. She's a lefty as well.
Oh,
Yeah, my
well,
mom was a
we're in
lefty
our
too.
we're in our right mind.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, funny fact about that, which is my mom was born in Cuba, and the education
Mhm.
system over there was very strict at the time.
Right.
And for some reason, like being a lefty was evil, back in my mom's youth.
Really?
And yeah, and my grandmother, mom, was also a left-handed as well. And my mom's teacher smacked her in the hand while she was writing on the chalkboard with a ruler, and forced her to write with her right hand. And my grandmother was furious. I don't know what ended up
Yeah,
happening
but
if my mom really
but
learned to write with both hands, but yeah, man, it was insane back in those days with
yeah,
lefties.
but it wasn't only in Cuba. It was in the United States too
Oh,
because
really?
I'm a lefty. So I had a hard time in school and even some family members, they always wanted to switch me to right hand, but I
Mhm.
always went to my left hand. But my both my grandsons, well, two of my grandsons are left-handed. And then one of their grandmother on their mother's side is left-handed as well. So there's some lefties that runs in the family on our side too.
Yeah, it's funny. Nor me nor my sister are left-handed. The only thing I'm left-handed in is when I shoot the basketball. I'm a lefty when
Mhm,
I shoot with my
mhm.
jump shot. That's the only thing I'm a lefty with. Everything else, I use my right hand for everything, which is kind of funny.
Well, I kick with my right foot and I
Okay.
bat right-handed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I played tennis, I had a two-handed backhand.
That's funny. And I know in martial arts, I'm better with my left leg. It's more flexible and it's quicker, which is kind of
Okay.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes if I kick, I'll switch. When I was
Yeah.
when I would
Well,
practice getting a punching bag.
I'm better with my right leg too. When I used to kickbox a little bit
Okay.
as well, and I'm better in my right leg as opposed
Yeah.
to my left leg. Yeah. I don't know what
Life's
that is.
interesting, isn't it?
It is. It's crazy.
Yeah. So like 90% of the time I'm right-handed, but for those two things, I'm a lefty.
Interesting.
Yeah. What were we? Oh, yeah, that's right, Mr. Relevant.
Yeah.
Okay, so I believe this is a Palm Beach Post pick. Carson Vincent, tackle out of Alabama A&M. This guy's not making the team. He's making the team. If betting
Look,
practice squad.
yeah, I think your 6th and 7th round picks, they have maybe even your 5th round pick are a long shot to make it,
Yeah.
you know. Although we had when did we draft Malik Washington last year?
I think Malik was a 5th or 6th, if I'm
He
not
was the 5th or
mistaken.
6th, so he was.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not going to be all pro, but he's serviceable. He's he's a backup, you
Yeah,
know.
I actually
But
thought the Dolphins got a steal when they picked him
yeah,
up.
I do too. I do too.
Yeah.
And we've yet to find out you know what Todd Washington is going to be about too. So
Yeah,
remember, we got him on the team as well.
that's true. But I think Malik's gonna be a pretty good number 3
Hmm.
for Miami. So I
I
mean, we'll
think
see.
so.
We'll
I
see.
think so.
Any guys that I didn't mention that you're thinking about that could be assets to the Dolphins if they decided to reach for them,
Man, in the 7th round.
or any round. I just gave you
Oh,
my list. So is there anybody
uh,
you?
mm, well, I'd like quarterback. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay,
I did a little film study on Tyler Shock, I think his name is. It's
Show something
spelled
like that.
SSHOUCH, I think.
I think it's
Anyway,
UGH. I know who you're
UGH.
talking about.
Okay. Yeah,
I know who you're talking about.
Tyler, how to being pronounced, Tyler Shaw. I call it him Tyler Shaw. He's tall. He's 6'5". He's about 225. He's mobile. He's got a rocket arm
Yeah,
and pretty good accuracy. Um, and he plays in a pro style offense in Louisville. And of course, you saw them play against the University of Miami last year.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I like him. He's got a quick release as well. And I think he'd fit right in as a quarterback, whether it be backup, you know, we could develop him to a starter. That's yet to be known, but at least for a backup as a development piece, I think he would be ideal for the system. And he's a big guy, and it's different than what we're accustomed to in Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah, I agree with you. The only knock on Tyler is that
Yeah, I know.
he had an injury history.
Yeah,
He
but
was he was supposed to be the heir apparent to Justin Herbert at Oregon, and
right,
Mario and the guys basically told him that he wasn't going to start, and he went with Anthony Brown, who almost actually won him a Pac-12 that season.
right.
So that's why I agree with you, man. The guy's big, he's fast,
Yeah.
but one good hit, and I mean, then again, if you draft him as a backup, if you draft him as a backup, it's not a big deal, especially if he's your second or third, if he's your third quarterback. It's really not because he'll be your basically your break glass kind of quarterback. My only
Mhm.
thing though, Steve, is that oh nice, the like button. My only thing, Steve, is that I guess you can wait till next year. I kind of want to draft Tua's replacement in case the 4 years don't work out for Miami. So that's kind of
Mhm.
like my thing. So I'd rather a guy be 2 years in the
Mhm.
system that you
Mhm.
know is gonna be healthy moving forward.
Mhm.
And I don't like Tyler. Hopefully Tyler's all that stuff is gone and that it was just a bad rough couple patches, a bad rough couple years. But that's my only concern is that he does have a previous injury history before he got to Louisville. And
Mhm.
that's why he's not up in the echelon of quarterbacks being talked about in the
Yeah,
draft.
that that
He is making some noise, but
yeah,
not
yeah,
as
yeah.
much as he should.
Right. Right. No, you're making great points. You know, that's correct. If anything, I would love to see uh somebody come in to be Tua's replacement in the future for sure. And that way we can develop a guy for a couple years. Yeah, I agree. I can agree with that.
A guy I like is Cal McCord. Cal McCord was a quarterback at
Mhm.
Ohio State, and
Mhm.
he was actually the nation's top passer when he transferred to Syracuse because they basically told him, "You're not promised a starting job this year," because they
Mhm.
wanted to go portal, and then they got Will Howard out of it, and they won a national championship, so it worked out for Ohio State towards the end. My only thing about Cal McCord is that Cal's not mobile at all, and this is an offensive line where you have to move, and unless they show up that line, Cal McCord is a sitting duck with it because at least Tua has underrated mobility. Tua can escape. No, he can
Mhm.
escape. But if the Bills are coming after McCord, McCord is dead. I mean, McCord is dead. The reason why he torched the Miami Hurricanes this past season is because the offensive coordinator made an adjustment and was able to get the ball out of his hands with like a second and a half into the ball being centered to him. And that's why Miami's guys weren't getting home. But early on in the game, when it was 21-0, Tyler Barron and those guys were getting home and they were putting a lot of pressure on
Mhm.
Kyle McCord. But Kyle McCord was able to get the
Mhm.
ball quickly. So they weren't able to get the sacks they needed to disrupt, the Syracuse passing game. But that guy is going to be a pretty solid quarterback, whether as a backup or one day if he's in the right situation as a starter. He's very smart. Like, he's
Mhm.
very smart. He was
Mhm.
very poorly treated coming out of Ohio State. Those 2 games they lost were not his fault. All right, the team just let him down. He has a great arm. He has a great arm as well, and he's extremely accurate. He's got a heck of a deep ball. So I do think that if a team does get him, they have a potential to have a solid backup that you have to worry if your quarterback goes down because he could take over the reins for that football team, or he could sneak up on somebody and become your next starter. Who knows?
Yeah. 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 I heard the name mentioned, but I haven't done a lot of research on McCord. But I've
Watch what he
heard
did to
there's a.
Miami. He torched Miami pretty good.
I'll do that.
Yeah,
I'll
just
do
watch
that for sure.
watch highlights of that one or the lowlights as I would say as a Kings fan. Anybody else
Right.
you're curious about?
Uh, no. I mean, I think we mentioned everyone
Okay.
that I've heard of, and well, here's one I could bring up, and I mentioned this on my show a couple weeks back, and last night too. I had a show, had a Tuesday therapy on Real Talk Fins Talk. I do that once a month where fans can come and join the panel and
Okay.
and voice their opinions and things like that. But bottom line is, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel don't draft. If Chris Greer is in charge of the draft this year, because that's still up in the air, in my opinion. But if he is in charge of the draft along with Mike McDaniel, don't be surprised if they don't draft an edge rusher. And the reason why I say that is because are we sure Bradley Chubb is going to come back 100%? He's got an injury history. Are we sure Jalen Phillips is going to come back at 100%? And when will they both come back? At the beginning of the season, the third game, fourth game? Because I think they rushed Jalen Phillips back,
Yeah, he did.
or he pushed himself in the games too early. So, and he's had two injuries in 2 years.
Yeah.
And I know we've got Chop Robinson, but Chop Robinson struggled in the beginning of the year. Towards the end of the year, he started playing a little better, as far as pressures on the quarterback and made a few sacks. But he's not good in the run game. He's not good in the run game at all. And I know we've got Quentin Bell, we've got Grayson Murphy, and Kamara.
Yeah.
Not Kamara. Is it
The kid out
Kamara?
the kid out
Yeah,
of
Muhammad Kamara.
yeah,
Yeah,
out of
yeah.
Colorado State.
So we have those guys. So, Kamara's more kind of played a little special teams last year, I believe. He might have saw the field a little bit, not a lot. So they might look at an edge rusher like Stewart.
Yeah, you're not the only one that has him has him in the
Yeah.
Dolphins mock draft. I saw another
Yeah.
another media outlet that has Shamar Stewart listed as a
Uh-huh.
possible pick for the Dolphins. So, I mean, that's not where I want to go, honestly,
What
to be
what
frank with you.
where do you think he'll go
Shamar?
if somebody yeah. Where do you think he'll go in the draft if
I don't
somebody
know.
wants him?
For the rumor has it Detroit really wants him. So I think Detroit's willing to make
First
a deal.
round?
Yeah,
First round? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah. Remember, it's a passing league. It's a passing league, and he's very quick. He's versatile. You can even play him inside if you want to. So I do think that he's going to
Right.
be a hot commodity.
Yeah.
So from what I've heard and what I've read, the Lions really want him. So
Mhm.
I think they'll make a deal with somebody. So I would be
Yeah.
surprised if he goes to Detroit. But again,
Are
it's a passing league, so I mean, you could
yeah.
have. I mean, I understand your perspective. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, because I mean, it's you can't have too many edge rushers. And again, the
Right.
Dolphins, because they sign guys that get hurt, and then they draft guys that get hurt. Jalen Phillips had an injury history before he got to the University of Miami.
Sure.
That's
Sure.
why I would have rather originally gotten Greg Rousseau, the ones that if I was going to go
Whoa.
Kane, Greg
Woo!
Rousseau, who's now in Buffalo, and
Right.
playing very well in Buffalo. Greg Rousseau,
Yeah.
I think it hurt him a little bit because he missed that 1 year because he didn't want to play because of COVID. So he
Right.
missed that 1 year and he just went into the draft. But the year before, he had like 14 sacks. It was him and Chase Daniels were the top two defensive ends in the country. So I would have rather gone Greg Rousseau. I was happy to get Phillips because a Kane is a Kane, but I thought
Mhm.
that at the end maybe Greg Rousseau might be the better player. But I
And
mean, we'll see what happens with Jalen Phillips.
Greg Russo had a more of an impact his first year than Jalen Phillips did, right?
Yeah,
For Buffalo? Yeah.
yeah,
It took
and
Phillips a couple, 2, 3 years to really develop and because he was terrible at run in the run
yeah.
game,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
think
and
Phillips' second year, towards the second half, he picked
yeah,
things up.
that's
That's when
right.
you saw, I think he had like 6 sacks in the last like 2 or 3 games, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
He was really getting to the
Correct.
quarterback, and
Correct.
he adjusted himself, and unfortunately blew out his Achilles, which was a horrible injury for him to have. But originally, I would have said, well, if you're gonna go Kane, I would have rather you got Rousseau. But I get why you got Phillips. He played the season. He played out that season. He was very successful at the University of Miami. He
Right.
got to the quarterback, quite a bit. He was effective and various times brought in pressure all the time. He's very physically gifted. So that's why
Mhm.
I understood why the Dolphins went that route. But I thought that longevity was more in Rousseau's favor. But again, not playing one season kind of hurt him, even though the year before he had like 15 sacks, I think it was, for the Miami
Right.
Hurricanes.
Right. Right. Yeah. Hmm.
Anything
Not
else?
saying that
No,
no,
go ahead.
I
I'm
was
sorry.
gonna say not saying that Jalen Phillips is not a good player. I'm just
No, he's
saying,
great. I'm just saying that
yeah,
he had injury
yeah,
history.
he's got injury history and unfortunately, in order to make plays and be impactful for your team, you have to be available.
Hmm. Yeah,
But no,
absolutely.
I had no others. That was the only 2 was the quarterback and then, Stewart. Shamar is it Shamar?
Yeah,
Shamar?
Shamar.
Yeah, Shamar Stewart. I heard a little bit about him and I thought that would be a position that not of a need, but it would be a bonus. Someone
Yeah,
that we could possibly use and as a as insurance if one of those guys go down again.
yeah. Yeah, so again, BPA, best player available. If he happens to be the best player on the
Yeah.
board at the time, you go get him. But
Take
I
him.
do,
Yeah.
but I do think that if at 13, it's more than likely going to be between a Will Johnson versus Barron
Yeah.
battle. And again, I'd
Right.
rather pick Barron. I think Barron is in a
Yeah.
better position to make an impact right away than is Johnson because of the injuries. That's the only thing. Right.
Yeah. No,
Steve,
I agree, and I like his versatility too, Barron's
uh,
versatility. So I'm with
yeah,
you on that.
four. He played all 4 positions, both boundaries
Exactly.
and both slots. You
Yeah.
can't you can't argue with that.
Not at all.
Mr. Molloy, tell us where we can find you, sir.
You can find me on the Fins Talk Sports Network. My show is Real Talk Fins Talk. Right now, we're doing mostly panel shows. I'm inviting special guests on and talk Miami Dolphins. At least that's what we were doing prior to the draft. And I think we'll continue to do that after the draft as well. So you can catch the show at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time at Fins Talk Sports Network. Real Talk, Fins Talk.
Awesome, man. You're gonna be on with Bobby as well, right? You told me.
Yes, I believe if I'm not mistaken, I'll probably be on with you on Saturday
Oh,
as well.
awesome. That's gonna be
So
great.
yeah, I think that's the plan. So we'll see how that works out. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. I really am.
Well, everybody out there, if you enjoyed hearing again from Mr. Steve Molloy, please subscribe to the FTSN Network with Real Talk with Steve Molloy. And if you like, a lot of stuff. Okay, I was messing around with Bob. I was messing with Bobby because I feel like he's on 1,000 shows. If you like professional wrestling, if you like the Miami Heat, if you like the Miami Hurricanes as well, if you like the Florida Marlins, if you like fantasy football, all those things. Okay, the FTSN network has a show for you. We're still doing the Panther stuff. I'm not yet done with that. I host the merger. Dirty Rats and Florida Cats and Dirty Rats. We're gonna do something real soon, hopefully, since the Panthers are in the playoffs and they just beat the holy tar out of the Tampa Bay Lightning last night by a score of 6 goals. Welcome back, Matthew Kachuk. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you like the show, though, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to 305 Sports Now. It is absolutely free. The more likes, the more shares, the more views, the more subscriptions, the more I can give you this fantastic content, the ones that you guys love, and I could bring on amazing guests like Mr. Real Talk Truth Teller Steve Molloy. Everybody, thank you so much for joining me. This is officially the end of my Dolphins draft coverage. I will be on with Bobby this upcoming Saturday on the Finstock Sport Network from hours from 2 to 4. So check that out and check out Bobby the entire week, rest of the week, as he's going to be having nonstop draft coverage from the first round all the way to whenever it ends. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, just God bless. See you soon. Go Fins, go Canes, go everybody. Have a good night, guys.
God bless.
God bless you guys.